Hey everybody, what's up? We're back. Agree to disagree here on VIC. We're on Zoom again with another episode. I'm Noah Schwartz, your host for today, alongside Aidan, Dean, and Jack. What's up, fellas? How are we?
I'm doing
Going
fantastic.
on.
All
Had a
right.
good weekend.
Good.
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna start with football today because football is back. So we'll talk about some Week One games. We will talk about the big sale of the New York Mets. I know Jack and I are quite happy today. Steve Cohen has officially bought the team. He just needs to be approved later this year, which we hope will happen. And we'll talk about the LA Clippers and what's next for them as they play Game 7 tomorrow in advance of the conference finals. So let's get right into it. Let's start with the Jets-Bills game from yesterday. Dean, I know you guys had a big win. You creamed the heck out of my Jets with Jack. Sam Darnold was awful yesterday. So what did you think? How was your team? And how are you feeling at 1-0?
Well, before you go off on me later, let me go off on you, and especially the man Jack who picked the Jets to win. Did
Go
you,
right ahead.
dude? Did you
Yeah,
really
Jack.
think you would come into Buffalo without fans and still win the game? I told you this is Josh Allen. Josh Allen's going to take the next step. He's got a better receiving core as displayed on Sunday. Granted, it is the Jets. You saw the relationship that him and Stephon Diggs, the chemistry they built early, the chemistry with John Brown still there. I would the little design outside runs I'm a little concerned about considering that last year he averaged I think one fumble a game, which him running does alert me because sometimes I
Wait, hold
understand.
up. He had 16 fumbles last year.
I think he had like 16 or 24. He had like
Whew.
somewhere we saw on CBS.
I completely missed that. Wow.
I didn't know it was that many fumbles, but yeah, he is prone to fumbling.
I
Yeah,
knew I knew he was prone, but
I
he
know
he
him and
fumbled
Carson Wentz
twice
are two of
the
like
other
the
day,
leading
didn't he?
fumblers among
And
quarterbacks.
Daniel Jones.
I
Yeah.
think me and Jack saw something like that right on like CBS. It was like
I'm
Josh
looking
Allen.
up his stats for
I
him.
I don't. I'm concerned the way that he runs sometimes. Like, listen, understand run when you need to, and he's athletic. I get that, but you got to slide or run out of bounds. If you're trying to tuck your head or like get hit like that, you're asking for a fumble. And it's like, didn't the Patriots game last year teach you a lesson or any other game? Like, if the more you do this, the more hits you're going to get, the more that you're going to lose that ball. But the defense was on point. I'm really impressed with the offense. I'm excited for this offense, and yeah, I love the receiving.
All right. Jack, I want to hear about you because I know you are pretty angry about what happened yesterday.
Yeah, I was pretty angry about it. Pretty much, it's what's been said from all of last season. It starts with coaching. Adam Gase just he can't be here. This entire team didn't look prepared whatsoever. The receivers, Darnold and the receivers did not have their timing was off. Darnold looked absolutely horrific. He got away. His stats were padded because he got a lucky 69-yard screen pass to Crowder for a touchdown, and it was just awful all around. The defense is missing a lot of holes. The one bright spot of the game for me was Marcus May. He looked really, really good, and hopefully he can build on that. 2 sacks and like a lot of tackles. So
Forced
that was,
fumble too, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
Yep.
he had a big game. He was playing like Jamal, not as good, obviously, but you know what I mean. Anyway, like I said, it all starts with Adam Gase, and the biggest thing that I take away from this is obviously I know it's him, but like after the game in his press conference when he always puts the blame on somebody else. He never takes part. Like he didn't do a good job in the game plan. He didn't do a good job preparing. It's like he doesn't make adjustments, and he just doesn't take responsibility. Like Jamal Adams said when he went on a rant right before he got traded, the guy is arrogant. He doesn't communicate with players, and he doesn't have what's the word I'm trying to say.
He's not open to the players.
Yeah, okay. He's not open to the players, and he doesn't have like a relationship with everybody. And I just think it's completely wrong. It's the environment and the attitude in the organization is just bad right now.
No,
And you
I
can
agree. I
see
agree,
it on
Jack.
the
It's
field.
chaotic. It's chaotic, and I think we've heard a lot about his relationships with the star players. Le'Veon Bell. That one's been pretty well documented. Darnold,
Yeah,
definitely Jamal Adams. But I think even more than just the way that Gase has handled his ability to handle to deal with the players, it's really just the way that he's prepared the team. And you mentioned they weren't prepared yesterday, but I mean, taking a penalty on a kickoff, like a delay
yeah,
game like that. I mean, are you kidding
yeah.
me?
That's like
And
ridiculous.
it's just the things that they do sometimes. It's like they're a college team and like a low level college team. I mean, Alabama's not making mistakes like that.
Yeah,
And they
no,
just look so out of sync at times. It's horrible.
Yeah, but also this is another thing that bothers me. I know I talked about this a little bit with you, but I just take this as an example. Why is it he's supposed to be like a quarterback guru and an offensive genius? Why is it all the guys that he left are now doing better without him? Why is
you're right.
Tannehill
Tannehill is a
good
great
football
example.
now? Why is Devontae Parker playing well now instead of when you were there?
Tannehill is actually a great
Kenyon Drake,
example.
another one.
He came in.
Even Gesicki stepped up.
Tannehill came in out of college looking good, and looking like he could be a franchise quarterback down in Miami. And he looked good for a season, and then all of a sudden, just nothing from him. And he leaves Adam Gase's system, and all of a sudden, he is a quality starter. He's player of the year. He leads his team nearly to the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
you're right.
When you label yourself an offensive genius, players shouldn't be getting better when they're coached by somebody else.
And by the way, not only have they improved in other places, but this quarterback has regressed since he got here.
And I don't even blame Darnold, and God forbid, if this is his last season with the Jets, I'm not going to ever say he was a bust because he just got caught in absolutely the worst situation. He never had a good coach. Todd Bowles didn't do anything for him. Mike McCagnon never did anything for him. They never put a good team around him. Like, I'm not saying he's going to be better, but if you put him in a situation where, like, if you put him where Josh Allen is, or you put him where you put him on the Cleveland Browns, I'm not saying he's going to be a superstar, but I think this guy's clearly an NFL starting quarterback.
I agree. No, Sam Darnold is not.
He looked like he was a college kid yesterday, and I'm hoping he turned it around. I'm not going to say
he's on pace. He is on pace to be a bust, but he is not a bust yet. I think you're right. I want to see what he can do without Adam Gase and see if he can flourish in a system that is, good.
The problem is, Aidan, he might not get the chance to, because if Joe Douglas didn't draft Sam Darnold, remember that. So if they fire Gase at the end of the year, which obviously is the expectation at this point.
Fire him mid-season.
Even if they do that. Right. Let's say that even if they do it at some point during the year after whatever it is, they go into the draft, they're going to have 2 first-round picks. With this roster, they may be the number 1 pick. I mean, Jacksonville won yesterday. I mean, you have the jersey on right now, Aidan. Right. They could look to move. They could look to move a pick. So they could potentially be in the top 3 or 4. And when you have Justin Fields and Lawrence and Trey Lance and these other quarterbacks that are going to be there next year, they may look to draft one if Darnold doesn't prove himself. And again, as you said, Jack, it's really not much on Darnold. Like, I mean, you can talk about other quarterbacks, and we know the way to win in this league now is get a franchise young guy, draft him, and in his rookie contract, get a ton of pieces and win. I mean, we've seen it with Patrick Mahomes on his rookie contract, Jared Goff on his rookie contract. They went to the Super Bowl. It's the way that you win in this league now. You get a young guy and you surround him with talent. The Jets haven't even come close to doing it.
And then here's what I want to know, especially from you two Jets fans. If you guys are the GM of another team and the Jets decide to move on from Sam Darnold and they cut him or they trade him, are you going to be taking Sam Darnold with what you have seen him do so far? Because
you take a chance on him for sure.
I would say
especially
maybe as a backup, maybe sign him as a backup, but not to be your franchise.
But also, he's still super young. He's only 23 years old. He's not even close to his prime. So
is Josh Rosen, and 2 teams have already passed on him.
No, Josh Rosen didn't get treated fairly in this league either.
Josh Rosen was in the worst spot possible.
Darnold showed at points he could be a top quarterback. He's gone. He's been in an absolute. He lost, and even though he lost once, he stood toe to toe with Aaron Rodgers and battled him completely. Last year he went 6-2 on the back end.
7-6 in his starts last year.
Yeah, 7-6
on an awful team.
with an awful team. He shows he has potential, and I honestly believe he does. It's just about getting the right coach.
The 7 games they won last year were mainly because of the play of Jamal Adams and Sam Darnold. And also, completely the opposite for Adam Gase. They won despite Adam Gase.
But also, I just want to compare one thing. And so much of the success of a young quarterback also depends on the team around him. I'm going to compare obviously, I'm going to compare the 2 situations. I'm just saying, I'm going to compare Mark Sanchez to when Sam Darnold was there. Obviously, Sam Darnold is a lot better, but when you look at the team that they had around Mark Sanchez, like his early years, they had an absolute all-pro offensive line with Brickashaw Ferguson, Alan Faneca, Nick Mangold. They had a strong, steady running game, and they had a top defense. And even though Mark Sanchez was never great, he never even completed, I think, over 58% of his passes. But it gets the job done because –
Yep. 2 championship games. They'll never get to the playoffs with Darnold like this.
When you have no team around you with a young quarterback, especially with an awful head coach, you can't do anything.
Yeah.
Another thing is, other than like the situation Darnold is in, and you see like almost every play he was getting pressured. The O-line is just not there to help him. You have 3rd and 15, screen, short pass. It's like I told Jack this. There are these plays. Buffalo is just reading them out. You're on 3rd and 15. You can't do a screen. Are you kidding me? And it wasn't just one play. It became time and time again. They kept doing a screen or a short pass that Buffalo kept on reading perfectly.
Yeah, and also I'm gonna say that, like you said, like the plays on a 3rd and 6. Why are we running a play that's thrown to the line of scrimmage? Can we run a play where the guy is at the marker, or just another example? And also, just before we move on, I just want to say one thing about the defense. The defense, I'm not gonna fully. The defense, they really couldn't work with much. They were set up. The Bills pretty much had good field position the whole day. They had a lot of injuries. Obviously, Williamson was missing. And Blake Cashman, he was the Mike linebacker at the start of the game, but then he got hurt. And so pretty much that's what I'm going to say about that.
All right, so Jets get creamed yesterday. We went in pretty deep on that. Let's move to the afternoon game with Aidan's team. Saints looking pretty dominant despite a pretty rough game from Drew Brees yesterday and Michael Thomas, by the way. But they still beat Tom Brady and the Buccaneers. Aidan, let me hear what you got.
I mean, yeah, you said the Saints look dominant. I somewhat agree. I think the Saints look dominant almost in spite of Drew Brees and Michael Thomas. And honestly, Sean Payton. Sean Payton had some pretty bad play calling in this game. The offense for most of the game, outside of a couple drives, looked completely dead. And that was really hard to watch on a team that's basically over the past 3 seasons scored at will. They couldn't get things going in the running game. They couldn't get things going in the passing game. Fortunately, their defense stepped up big, picked off Tom Brady twice, returned one for a touchdown. Then they also had a blocked field goal and a muffed kick return that they got a field goal off of. So, when all said and done, the Saints defense and special teams made up more than enough to win the game. But I really, really hope that this is not a sign of things to come, because if it is, the Saints should definitely be afraid that performance that they had is not going to be enough. It might be enough to win the division, but it's not going to be enough to win the NFC and win the Super Bowl, especially with the way that some of the other teams in the league have looked offensively. I think that it was a really fun game to watch. And as I said last week, I was a little bit nervous about this game because I really don't know how this Tom Brady and, dream team experiment down in Tampa is going to go. And after watching the game, I must say I feel very, very confident that Noah, like you've said, not only are the Saints going to win the division, but the Bucs aren't even going to make the playoffs. I don't think Tom Brady looked good. He had people last season were saying he just needed better targets or he just wanted to get out of New England. Well, he got both of those things, and he still managed to get, most of his quality yards in garbage time. He couldn't complete passes to Mike Evans. He couldn't complete passes to Chris Godwin. He completed 2 to Gronk, his favorite target ever. He did not look like he was having a fun time. A lot of his throws were looking inaccurate. And that was good for me to watch. That was enjoyable for me as a Saints fan, being able to see, him not look at his best. But I want to know what you guys thought.
Yeah, I want to point out, Aidan, and you said it. The Saints, they didn't look great on offense yesterday. I guess the word juggernaut would be a little much, but Alvin Kamara was great on, I think he had 3 touchdowns in his first game after the new contract.
2 touchdowns.
Two touchdowns in the first game.
For a second.
But more than what the Saints did, to me the most important thing was Brady. And look, you can't win in this league if you don't have above average or superstar quarterback play. It's really hard to do nowadays. And the Buccaneers roster is pretty good. They have a good defense. The defense was pretty good yesterday. They weren't dominant, but they were pretty good. They've got great weapons, as we talked about, and they can run the ball now. They had Leonard Fournette, Ronald Jones, but
did
they
Fournette
don't have a good quarterback.
Even get a carry? I don't think Fournette even got a carry.
Like 1 or 2 carries. He got
he was there a little bit, but
I didn't catch him. He didn't have anything big.
But the point is, Tom Brady is a below-average NFL quarterback, and I've been saying it all offseason. Last year, and I don't care what the weapons were, he wasn't good. He was inaccurate.
He was not.
And he wasn't winning, or the team wasn't great, and they lost their first playoff game. Now that's 3 straight games for Brady, the last 2 last year in New England, and now this one with the pick 6. That's one shy of the all-time record. I mean, I understand he's 43 and I understand he's the greatest, but you can't win if you don't have above average quarterback play, and he's not an above average quarterback.
Not
and
anymore.
The team is going to be mediocre because of what he's doing. And look, I feel bad for him. I understand that, he was in New England for 20 years and did all this stuff, and now we're going to beat on him now. But at the end of the day, if you're not the same guy, like just hang it up already. And that's just really all I got to say about it, because this team's not making the playoffs if he plays like this, and he's going to.
It just goes to show
what he is now.
Tom Brady is a system quarterback. He excelled in Bill Belichick's system because Bill Belichick has a special way of taking any player and being able to make them look good while they're playing on the Patriots. You've seen it especially with wide receivers. I mean, Danny Amendola and Wes Welker are two big notable players, and Chris Hogan as well. Players who were god-awful before joining the Patriots and are god-awful after the Patriots, but for some reason they're Pro Bowl caliber receivers. Julian Edelman won a Super Bowl MVP. He would not even be close to that situation out of New England. And Tom Brady, I mean, Matt Castle nearly led them to the playoffs in 2008.
Cam Newton looked like a rejuvenated superstar yesterday, by the way.
Cam Newton looked in MVP form.
Yep.
It's like I said last week. I said, when I was doing my top list, the reason I put Jalen Ramsey above like Stephon Gilmore is because I think a lot of players that go to New England are products of the system. I'm not saying Tom Brady is completely that. Obviously, the guy still has to have talent to win the MVP 3 times and to win 6 Super Bowls.
Of course. Tom Brady has talent. Tom Brady is.
I'm not going to take that away. Obviously, he wasn't great yesterday. I do agree with you. He's not an above-average quarterback. I think he's like right in the middle. But like you said, the Saints completely outplayed them yesterday. I still think a lot of teams kind of look sloppy. They didn't have that much practice time, no preseason. I'm sure he'll look better. I'm not going to say he's going to look elite, but I'm sure he'll look better as the season goes on. But, yeah, pretty much like you guys said, he wasn't like himself. He threw some picks. Some of his throws were completely off. He didn't really look that good under pressure yesterday.
I mean, his first pick, I mean, I don't know if you guys were watching the game, but that first pick was 5 yards over the head of, I don't even know who he was throwing it to, into 2 Saints defenders.
Wasn't even close.
Yeah, it wasn't even close.
Maybe he's seeing ghosts now.
It was just not – that was not Tom Brady like that game. And don't get me wrong, Aidan, I know you're happy to hear that, and I won't take anything away from the Saints. They completely deserved that win. And I'm not going to try and make an excuse for him to say it's only 1 week and, like Jack said, other teams haven't practiced, but – this is not the Tom Brady that you would typically see. And especially, I thought that he would do better, honestly, with a team with new weapons, a team that, although he's not a Bill Belichick, I still think Bruce Arians is a decent,
Bruce Arians
guru. And, it's like, this is just surprising. How does this not – I know he's 43, but it's like you have everything in place for you. How does this not work out for you? I mean, what wrong is there? Like, it's one of those, like – I'm trying to word it. I can't say it correctly, but I think you know what I'm trying to say.
The other thing is, I think the problem, we saw 2 very similar performances, I think, from Breeze and Brady this weekend. Neither of them looked like they were on top of their game. Neither of them looked great in the passing game. But here's the difference. The Saints are built around having a dynamic offense. When Breeze was looking bad and when Breeze went down last season, they could build up around other guys to win games, to keep winning games. But with Brady, if Brady's not passing well on this team, they don't have anyone else they can fall back to. They can't just throw checkdowns all the time and then run the ball. That's not going to work with this team, and then hope that their defense comes up big. But I think we should move on. We spent enough time on this.
Hold on, just one quick thing, just yes or no question for all of you, because Bruce Arians did call out a couple Buccaneers today in his press conference. I saw some of it. He called out the offensive tackle Donovan Smith, and he called out Brady a little bit. Is it panic time in New England? Yes or in Tampa Bay? I'm sorry, Tampa Bay. Is it panic time in Tampa Bay? Yes or no?
No way. They still have a chance of getting second place in this division. With the way that the Falcons looked, and the Panthers also looked pretty. There's a chance they could go anywhere from second to fourth. It's not yet a panic mode for me.
It's only week 1. It's not everyone looks the best week 1. Even Jack said there's some other teams as well look sloppy. So I feel like sometimes it takes time for a team to gel together and perform better. But
all right, so let's move on. Let's go to the Sunday night game. So we saw the Cowboys and Rams in a really, really competitive, close, low-scoring game. and the Cowboys just didn't do enough at the end of the game. There was a controversial call, didn't go their way. Rams win by 3. I think it was 17-14 was the final. What did you guys see from Dallas under Mike McCarthy in his first game as the head coach with a kind of a new look team?
I'll start. So pretty much the Cowboys, they looked okay. I mean, Zeke was still running the football pretty solid. Dak was all right. I like their defensive line. One guy I was happy for. Like, it was just, I don't know, like he had a sack in his first game back in a while. Alden Smith. I thought that was nice.
And he forced an interception too. Whether that was it was a controversial call.
I said Alden Smith is going to be a big surprise this year. I said he's going to have a very good year. Not like Pro Bowl, but like from what he once was when he was in San Francisco. Like, he still clearly has talent. So that was nice to see. The thing that really cost the Cowboys the game is on that 4th and 3. I don't understand why you would go for it there and not kick a field goal. And also now I just want to say, I told you guys to watch out. My boy Jordan Fuller making that play of the game, stopping CeeDee Lamb on that 4th and 3.
That was big. That was really big.
Rams and tackles. I said watch out. But
Bergen County, New Jersey represent.
Yes, making the play of the night. Led the way with 8 tackles for the Rams. I was shocked he was out there as much as he was.
I will – oh, no. Are you finished?
Just one more thing. So, yeah, the Cowboys, like Dak, he really wasn't great. And honestly, so in Mike McCarthy throughout that whole game, he didn't even seem like coaching was different. It was like – that was like the same situation against the Jets last year on that 4th and 3. It was up to the Jets. It was 4th and 2. You kick the field goal. It completely changes the game.
I think, actually, I disagree with you a little bit. It was nice to see. It was refreshing to see the Cowboys. The Cowboys didn't beat themselves this time, which I feel like they did half the time last season. They didn't look like they went out there and played a better football game and then found a way to lose it regardless. They did get screwed on that play. I will fully admit it. I hate the Cowboys, but Jalen Ramsey flopped. But it was nice to see them not lose because they messed up. They lost because they got unlucky and they didn't play as well in the end. I mean, that was kind of it.
Yeah, I have to agree with you, Aidan. This is the first time I felt like, well, not first time, like where the Rams, a team actually beat the Cowboys. No disrespect to the Jets. I mean, I feel like I don't know what to think about the Cowboys. I'll just say it was good to see them lose in the spotlight. Once again, Dak Prescott chokes in the spotlight on prime time. But the question is, a lot of people have been posting about this, talking about this, the pass interference call at the end. I mean, yes, I did see a little extension of the arm, but I thought, I mean, I don't know about you guys. You guys will have your own view on this, but I thought, that late in the game, I don't know if you could call that. I mean, listen, I'll give Jalen Ramsey credit. He definitely sold that perfectly. But I just think, late in the game, do you really call that type of play?
I thought it was a good call, Dean. I mean, I understand it was controversial. I thought there was enough extension there to call it.
I agree. If it had been reviewed, it would have been turned back. But
probably, I don't know.
Real time, yeah.
It's close to tell. But the big thing for me, and I'm not a Cowboy fan at all. I don't like the Cowboys, but honestly, I thought they did a lot well last night. I don't think Dak was very good, especially on 3rd down. But I think the biggest thing that they did do, and this is a reason why they're going to win some games this year. I don't think they're a playoff team, but I think they'll win some games, maybe go 8-8 or so again. Is they really looked to Zeke Elliott to run that offense through. I mean, I think it was 22 carries, nearly at 100 yards. He was pretty active in the passing game also, and I've said this for a long time. This is not Dak's team. This is Zeke's team. Get the ball to Zeke, run behind your offensive line. It's a very good offensive line, although not as good as it used to be. Last night they struggled a little bit, but if you can really rely on Zeke and make him the featured guy in that offense, they'll win some games, and that's really the formula for them. I thought Dak was pretty average, especially on 3rd down. He struggled, but they've got a loaded receiving core, and if they can use those weapons as a added boost to what they have in Zeke already, they'll be fine. Defensively, they're not good though. I mean, Leighton Vander Esch is already out, and they're not great on defense. So we'll see what happens there.
Their defense is not stacked up to what they said. Before we move on from football, can I just talk about one last game?
Go ahead.
I want to talk about that Eagles football team game. I feel so weird to call them the football team still. Dean heard me mess up before the show. But yeah, the Washington football team, they were down 17-0. And in true, Alex Smith form, making him proud, they came back from the dead and scored 27 unanswered to take it away from the Eagles. And the Eagles, after the second half, as has been the case for a lot of their games, they take a big lead and then they just kind of disappear and either win by the skin of their teeth or lose. And in this case, they lost. Yes, you can blame the Eagles' O-line, 8 sacks. Carson Wentz had a tough game, threw 2 picks, got sacked 8 times, obviously. But boy, oh boy, I had fun watching the Washington football team in that second half.
Can I get a minute to defend my man Carson Wentz for a second?
Oh, of course. I'm not attacking him for the record. I'm just saying it was a tough showing for him.
Well, look, yeah, I understand he didn't play well yesterday. You said the 2 interceptions, but there were a lot of reasons for why that happened. Look, last year down the stretch when he had those 4 straight wins, the team was so banged up. I don't even know how he did it. At some point when you're that injured, you're going to fall back to the norm and lose some games, and that's what happened yesterday. I know they had the early lead, but they were missing Lane Johnson, Brandon Brooks, Andre Dillard, the first-round pick on the offensive line. That's 3 starters. You're playing a 38 or 9-year-old Jason Peters at left tackle again. So they didn't have any luck there, and of course he got crushed with 8 sacks. At running back, they didn't have Miles Sanders, their starting running back. That's a huge loss. So now all of a sudden you're relying on Corey Clement, who's past his prime, and I can't remember the other guy who carried the ball. Boston Scott. I mean, who is he? So
hey, go Boston.
So you have problems there, and then at receiver, they really weren't a good team at receiver last year, and then they added Jalen Reagor, and he did a little bit yesterday, but Alshon Jeffrey was out, and so they lost their. I can't remember who their free agent acquisition was. He opted out of the season. It's Goodwin, Marquise Goodwin. So they didn't have him. So overall, they were a pretty decimated team with injuries yesterday, and that's why they didn't win. If they were healthy, I think Carson would have been good enough to hold on, and I think they'll be okay. I mean, the Eagles are 0-1 too, and Washington's not a threat, so they'll be fine. I know
it's looking like Washington's going to be the way the game is going right now, and I could be regretting this by the time we post it. It's looking like the Washington football team is going to be sitting alone on top of the NFC East.
Oh, wow. I mean, I was going to say that game, all you just saw was, and Noah mentioned 8 sacks for the Redskins, a beaten up Eagles O-line, and not enough time for Wentz to throw. That Redskins front 7 got to him. And, the first half seeing the Washington football club, not team, it was, I thought, okay, 17-0 Eagles. And then the Redskins came back, and it was like, wow, okay. But it was against the beaten up Eagles team. I'm still not a believer in Dwayne Haskins. Sorry for any Dwayne Haskins supporters, but sorry, Aidan. I'm just still surprised that Washington kind of came out of that game, but good for them.
Yeah.
Time to move on then, Noah?
All right, yeah, let's move on. So let's move on to some baseball quickly. Today, Jack, as bad and as awful as yesterday was for us as Jet fans, today was a great day to be a Mets fan. Yeah, Stevie Cohen has officially bought the team. There was an official statement released a couple hours ago from the Mets. It is official. The only step from here that we need to take is he needs to be approved at the owners' meetings, which were actually postponed today. So we'll see exactly how that works. They're supposed to be in November. I don't know if they'll get pushed back or something. We'll have to figure that all out. But as far as we know, Stevie Cohen will be the owner of the Mets relatively soon, and he just has to get approved. So what are you thinking as we head into a pretty critical offseason after this team has really stunk it up for the last 50 or so games now that the season's almost over?
Oh, I'm very excited, but I want the owners to approve him. I want it done. I want it signed on the dotted line. Everything's set and nothing can go wrong. But I'm very excited. This offseason could be a very exciting one for the New York Mets. They'll have a lot of money to spend, and I think they're going to try and make a statement this offseason. But the thing that makes me the happiest in terms of what he's going to do, Steve Cohen, I feel, is a guy they say he's crazy about winning. If, say there's a chance, the Mets, they're in the middle of the pack, but they're missing a piece or two. They make a trade, maybe they can go for it and they'll get there. The Wilpons, they never go for it. They always just do enough, and they never do that move to put them over the hump, which I like a lot. And also, just hopefully from now on, we'll hire smarter people. Brody Van Wagenen can start packing your bags because you ain't gonna be the GM anymore. But the biggest thing, the thing that I have about the most, besides not even about signing big time free agents, the fact that we're going to keep our own guys. No longer are we going to let a perfectly good pitcher and who's having like a Cy Young caliber year this year and Zach Wheeler walk away. No, I don't have to fear that Michael Conforto is going to be let go for nothing.
Whew.
As he continues,
give him that money. 7 years, $100 million right now.
As he continues to blossom into an MVP before our very eyes.
Yes. All right. So that was baseball. And I just want to do a quick segment there just to acknowledge the greatness of the $14 billion man, Stevie Cohen. So let's move on to something else that makes me very happy today.
Oh, God.
The LA Clippers have a Game 7 tomorrow. Did you guys know they have a Game 7 tomorrow?
Wait. Noah. Weren't they up 3-1?
As far as I knew, the Clippers were up 3-1 and the series was over. I don't know.
That's weird.
Where did Nikola Jokic come from? I don't even know. It's insane, isn't it? So anyway, Game 7 tomorrow. Winner take all. Winner goes to the Western Conference Finals to face LeBron, AD, and the
Dean.
Lakers.
Dean, look at Dean. Poor Dean.
I see Dean. So Dean,
why does this happen to me in the playoffs? Why can't I just get a team
Your
that
team
doesn't?
is cursed.
Yeah, Dean, this is
my
about it.
history.
I want to hear it.
This is my
picked
history.
your team.
Aiden, this
You
is
were
my
the choice.
my team, let alone the Clippers, such as the Bills and the Islanders. Underperforming, injuries, choking, or just tanking. Once again, the cycle of sucking has come to full circle. I love this. This is
And
what
the
I'm.
Orioles. Don't forget the Orioles.
Oh, I'm not going to even mention them. We know it's the bottom of the barrel.
You know what?
No offense, but just what I love about you is the fact that you've picked your teams because outside of the Islanders, really none of your teams are like hometown teams, and yet somehow you
picked all the bad ones.
You still have managed to find a set of teams that is more disappointing than the New York teams.
It's just a horrible.
But also, I was laughing, and don't get me wrong, I want the Clippers to win, but I couldn't help but laugh as this was happening, just because I found it so hilarious. So literally, game 5 and 6, they literally lost in the exact same way. Yeah. Going into halftime, they were up by like 15, and then they looked like they were an AAU team. They couldn't even hit a shot. They can't shoot. Also, this is to me, this has been the biggest difference. The bench has just been terrible. Lou Williams and Montrezl Harrell are completely gone. And I'm gonna say this is probably a big effect because of the bubble, because like the time off. I'm saying that's probably because they look just awful. Like Montrezl Harrell, you're trying to get paid. Nobody's gonna pay you when you're playing like this. That's all I'm gonna say about that. But I mean, anything could happen. They could still win. But as much as I don't want to say it, if they're gonna be playing like this, even if they win, they're not beating the Lakers.
Before Noah goes on a rant, I just want to say, Jack and Dean, I'm sorry. I usually side with you guys on this stuff. Because
you can't side with us here.
And the Lakers.
You can't side with it, Aiden.
But they do. The Clippers do not deserve to win Game 7 the way they looked the past two games.
You're 100% right.
But yeah, Noah, take it away. I know you're.
I've been so ready for this.
I'm just gonna.
Dean, let me tell you, I've been waiting for this for a couple days already. As soon as Game 6 ended, I knew what I wanted. Here we go. This is my moment. All right. So, look,
need help.
I said after Game 1 that this series was over. The talent gap here is just enormous. The Clippers have Kawhi Leonard and Paul George and all these great players, and Denver has Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray. And that's really it. And it's like, how in the world did we get here? They've been up, as you said, Jack, 15 points or so in each halftime, and they blow these leads. And, they got beat in the second half in Game 6. It was like 64-32 or something. It was like incredible. I mean, they got lost by 15 points or so per quarter. And they just look so asleep. And the thing is, everyone has said all season, the Clippers, they're just waiting for the Lakers. They're just waiting for the conference finals, and they'll wake up. And let me tell you something. They've got one more game to wake up, or they'll never even get to that point where they can actually be against the Lakers and overthrow, the big bad Lakers. They're not going to get to that point. And it's like, you see Kawhi Leonard, you got to wake up. You got to make sure that this team is ready to play, and you haven't. I mean, in the playoffs last year, Game 6 and 7 and later games in the second round, he was the best player alive. He had 41 points in the game winner in Game 7 of the conference semifinals last year, and he's still napping. It's like he's in hibernation since quarantine. He hasn't woke up yet. And it's him, it's Paul George, it's Lou, it's Trez, it's Doc Rivers even. Like, wake up, guys. And talent-wise, they should obliterate Denver. They should beat the Lakers maybe. I mean, look, the Lakers are a really talented team, and they're really good. But the Clippers, top to bottom, have a really great roster, probably a better roster than the Lakers. And right now, they've got no momentum. They look tired. They look bored. They look like they hate the bubble. They look like they're asleep, as I said. And somebody's got to stop this. It's horrible. I don't think I can remember a team in my lifetime that was this talented that has a chance to lose this early. Maybe Milwaukee in this year because, I mean, I've never really seen a one seed like that lose so quickly. But, I mean, the Clippers.
But the thing about Milwaukee, like, I just want to cut in quickly here.
Go ahead.
The thing about Milwaukee that I think is a little bit different is Milwaukee, you know, up until this point, up until the point where they lost, they did look to me completely dominant in the bubble, and then all of a sudden they just fell apart and couldn't win games. And the Heat do look good. So I think part of it for the Bucks was, you know, they were resting for so long, came back, didn't have the stamina to keep going. But the Clippers, like you've been saying, it's been the entire bubble. They came back.
No, it's been the entire season.
The end of the season
from
as well.
Start to finish.
From the start of the season, I thought they did look good.
They don't. This has been one of the more disappointing, dominant teams when they really lock in that I've ever seen. And I understand there's this whole flip the switch argument. And for most teams, I get it. I've said this before on the show. The Golden State Warriors, when they had Kevin Durant, they could flip the switch because they had Kevin Durant and they were the Golden State Warriors and they had won championships. This is not the Golden State Warrior. I mean, the Golden State Warriors with Kevin Durant. They're not that good. I mean, they're a good team. They're not like that level. You've got to wake up. You've got to play hard. And if teams make threes and hit shots on you, you're going to lose. It's just that simple. You have to wake up. You got 3 All-NBA caliber defenders on your starting lineup. You've got a great bench. Just play like it. It's not that difficult. I mean, seriously, just play up to standard. And it's the playoffs. When are you going to peak? Teams peak in the playoffs when they win championships. And this team peaked right before the end of the regular season, before the shutdown, when they beat the Rockets by 35 and were like 11-2 or whatever it was down the stretch. Yeah. Is that your peak? Is that really the best time for you all season? The best that you played? If that's the case, you're not going to beat the Lakers. You're not going to beat Denver.
No way.
You're definitely not going to win the championship. And you're going to go down as an all-time failure following one of the great heists in NBA history, getting Kawhi and Paul last summer. That's just what's going to happen because LeBron and AD are locked in, ready to go. And if you get to the conference finals and if you win tomorrow and you get there and you guys are still sleeping, you're going to get swept. I mean, seriously, you're going to get swept. And that's just what I fear for the Clippers. And I feel bad because
no, you don't. Stop that phony stuff right there. Stop that phony stuff right there. Stop it. Stop it. Are you kidding me? You feel bad? That is stop it right there. That's as phony.
Well, I wanted to see the Lakers beat them.
Stop it.
I wanted to see Lakers Clippers.
I wanted to see the Lakers beat them. I did. I did want to see it.
Lakers Clippers. But all I'll say is this. Like everything you said is true. They've been asleep. But I'll say this: when a game 7 can completely change momentum, these are games that define people's careers and define. These are the break. It's make or break. I'm just saying, with a big Game 7 win, this could be the exact jumpstart that they need. I'm not saying it's going to propel them to beat the Lakers, but it could potentially jumpstart them. Sometimes you need to lose a little before you can win.
Maybe it will. And look, I said before, Kawhi, I think it was 39 or 41 points last year. He took nearly 40 shots in Game 7 of the conference semis. If you play like that again, then I'll really start to think that this team is a contender and that if Kawhi puts them on the back, they can win the championship. But to this point, I haven't seen it. And Kawhi's been mostly good. I mean, he's had some struggle shooting, but for the most part, he's been pretty good. It's got to be him, and it's got to be everybody that's locked in, ready to go, both ends, offense and defense. You got to be locked in. You got to be ready to go.
Can I chime in since this is the team of mine?
Oh, yes, it can.
Go for it.
Let me speak on behalf of my team that, just like other teams, as I mentioned before Noah started, have stressed me out. What is going on? This is not the LA Clipper team that I tend to enjoy before the shutdown, as you guys would know. This is not Clipper basketball. I mean, this is just like 2015 all over again. And just watching them, I'm just like, is this 2015 all over again? Are we cursed? Is this what this franchise is coming to? And I think it's like, the
basement boys,
especially who you mentioned, Aidan, because my teams have a worse track record than the New York teams. As someone who's kind of running out of patience, I would love to see a team of mine,
just switch teams. Just switch teams.
Here's the thing,
bandwagon, or no one's gonna
Let me tell you something, Aidan. you can't teach heart and you can't buy loyalty. You can't put a price on it. And that's why I'm going to stay with my teams forever. But it's painful that, it's like, when are you guys going to do anything? I mean, the only one that's impressed me, although this is a different sport, is the team that I love in hockey. Noah, you too, of course. I know you're an Islanders fan. But the Clippers, it's like, I had so much expectations for you guys. And you can't be half asleep. You can't let your ego or talent get the best of you. I understand if you're up 20, okay. But in a game, especially in the playoffs, you cannot show mercy. You have to keep pouring it on and show no mercy. You got to keep going. You cannot fall asleep on the job, and that's what they're doing. They're letting their ego and everything get the best of themselves. They're getting too comfortable. I would normally blame Paul George, but Paul George has at least stepped up finally. But the rest of the team needs to step up, and I think Doc needs to play Zubac more than Harrell. I think Harrell's not played a good series despite. I think it was game 5 or 6. He had 15 points. I thought he was okay. I think play Zubac more. Reggie Jackson's got to play more. You got to give some of these guys more minutes. I mean,
hold on, Dean. Hold on.
You can't be stubborn again.
Just want to point out one thing. So you say play Zubac more. I agree with you.
Zubac has give Jokic a harder time than Harrell has.
I don't think they have anybody that can stop Zubac. I really do. I mean, that can stop Jokic. Excuse me. I don't see it. Who do they put on him? They've tried Paul George, didn't work. They tried Zubac, didn't work. They tried Harrell. Who do you try?
You saw in those 4 games, Zubac gave Jokic a harder time, although Jokic has played good at game 5 and 6. They're playing Harrell more, and Harrell's also taken some very questionable shots. I think some of these guys are going to need more minutes, and for Doc Rivers, you cannot be stubborn. This happened in 2015. You can't be stubborn and act like everything's fine. You got to change something up. You don't want to relive 2015 all over again.
So you've got one game tomorrow, Dean. It's winner take all, as you know. You really want them to change the rotation after they've been playing the same 7 or 8 guys or so for the entire series? You really want them to go?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to side with Noah here. I mean
that sounds a little crazy.
Now hold on. Let me explain.
The past 2 games.
Find an X factor.
Aidan, let me tell you something. I get playing these guys, but I'm saying, like, give Reggie Jackson more minutes, give Zubac more minutes.
But he hasn't played it all. He's got to play off his rust.
Stop it. Reggie Jackson has played well. I thought he played pretty decent against Dallas and hasn't got much time on the floor against Denver.
He had a huge game against Dallas. He had 4 fourth quarter threes. That really.
I understand, but he hasn't played this whole series really. Is he gonna have to be able? Is he gonna play off the rust in a game 7? That seems kind of crazy. That seems like a lot to ask for a backup point guard.
But
gotta come ready to play.
That it might be their last option.
When your number's called, you gotta be ready.
Dean, don't get me wrong. I'm siding with Noah here, but at this point, it might be the last option. Like, they looked awful the past 2 games. Why not switch something up? Yeah. I'm on the side where I think they should stick with what they've been doing, but what could hurt?
Yeah.
Your season could go down the drain. That's what could hurt.
You have nothing to lose. You gotta just go for it.
Their season's going down the drain already.
Yeah.
And one other thing I just want to point out before we move on, it feels like to me that this is going to be the least pressurized game 7 ever for the Denver Nuggets. They're playing with house money. If they lose, nobody will care. If they win, though, oh my God, they'll reap the benefits and people will really start to take them seriously. I haven't been a big Denver supporter the last few years. I really didn't think that they were too special. But if they can win tomorrow and win this series, oh my goodness, I'll think of them in a different light. And boy, will people really hate on the Clippers because they were supposed to be something really special. And if they lose in the second round to this team after blowing a lead like this, a 3-1 lead, oof, you better watch out, Dean, because this is going to be a tough summer for your Clippers. Let me tell you. So they've got to win tomorrow. They really got to save face.
It's make or break tomorrow. I've even said it before to Jack. My patience and faith has been running out, especially in the past 2 games. It's hard to keep faith when you see stuff like this happen again and again. It's deja vu all over again for the LA Clippers from 2015 against the Rockets to possibly now, should I say.
All right. We'll see tomorrow, 9:00 ESPN. Definitely tune in to watch it. All right. For our last segment, as we always do, let's do some winners and losers. I think we can talk about them quickly. Dean, would you like to go first?
For my winners, I like to say the Big Ten. So for those who haven't heard the news, the Big Ten is expected to approve of the return to play. The Pac-12 is thinking about I think mid-November return or somewhere in November they're thinking about returning. So there might be more college football after all. There may be more conferences that are joining. I believe Justin Fields was a huge part of this and Ohio State. But yeah,
Ohio State is
winners are the Big
hard.
Ten and possibly the Pac-12.
Very well. My loser is all Jets fans. We just deserve better.
Aidan?
My loser this week, I actually have two. First is me in fantasy for benching in different leagues, but I just want to go through some players that I benched in fantasy. Calvin Ridley, 33 points. Let's see. Sammy Watkins, 21.5 points. John Brown, 19 points. Hopefully I don't get kicked for benching Philip Lindsay. He's about to play. But those are just some of the players that I benched this week. Not a great week for me in fantasy. And then the other loser I have, PSG, because earlier this week there was an announcement. Mbappe is saying he's considering, or he wants to move on from the team in 2021. Not looking good for them. I'm not like a huge fan of soccer, but they are the team that I support for the most part. And that wouldn't be very good for them because he is one of the best players in the world. So
don't you love when a game comes into full plan and they just beat PSG? No, I'm just kidding. They had like 5 red cards the other day and 14 yellow cards or something like that in their games. There's also that.
Yeah. So if he leaves, what does Neymar want to do? Does Neymar want to leave too? Who knows?
Yeah.
All right, for my winner, this one's easy for me. Definitely my man Aaron Rodgers, beating the team that I thought was going to win the division, the Minnesota Vikings, yesterday in a dominant Aaron Rodgers primetime performance. He was 32 of 44. That's a very good completion percentage. 364 and 4 touchdowns, no picks. Classic Aaron Rodgers, one of the great quarterbacks to ever play this game. And I think he really shut some people up after yesterday. I actually tweeted, I said, look, I hope the idiots that are running the Green Bay Packers, mainly Brian Gutekunst, feel really stupid today because they saw their great quarterback dominate an elite defense. And this goes after they picked a quarterback. And I know you love him, Dean, but Jordan Love in the first round, I don't get it.
Any Jordan Love slander.
I'm not hating on Jordan Love. I'm just saying, why'd you pick him in the first round? And they picked a running back, A.J. Dillon, in the second round, who got 2 carries yesterday. He did nothing. So you had a chance to draft a wide receiver. You didn't take one. And you're stuck with Devontae Adams and a whole lot of nothing. And yet still your quarterback goes for 364 and 4 TDs and a win. What would have happened if you would have taken a real receiver in the draft and taken somebody in the top 2 rounds? Then you'd be really special. So that's my winner of the week. Aaron Rodgers really shut some people up yesterday. And hopefully this is a start of a really successful season for the Packers because they can deserve it after a really awful and tumultuous offseason there.
Yeah. Also, just because I wasn't going to do it, but I'll also say I'm a loser in fantasy. Well, one of my leagues I won our league, but the other, my league with my hometown friends. So, of course, one of the guys I'm playing, he didn't switch out his lineup. So he was playing Miles Sanders. So I'm like, all right, great. So this guy's inactive. I'll probably definitely get a win. But, of course, the 2 wide receivers I played this week were Michael Thomas and Cooper Kupp, who both absolutely did not show up. And who was his receiver? Who was he? Of course, he had
Devontae.
He had Matt Ryan, 35. He had Chris Carson, 27. And he had Devontae Adams for 41. So, of course, I lost by 6.
Ooh.
All right.
Fantasy.
That's tough. All right, guys, that'll do it for us in this episode. Make sure you check us out on the various social media platforms. We have Facebook, we have Twitter, we've got Instagram, we've got a lot of different things. So make sure you check all that out. Make sure you check us out on YouTube and on Spotify. That's where you can view our latest episodes. So hope everyone's doing well, and we'll see you soon for our next episode. Thanks for tuning in.